Hi, it's Hope and welcome to the video. This is going to be my, just about dropped the book. This is going to be my reading blog for Lost in the Neverwoods by Aiden Thomas. And pretty much how, if you do not know how, like my reading vlogs personally go, is I read a bit of the book and then I will stop and talk about it either at the end of a chapter or after a couple of chapters or after a event happens that I feel like I have the urge to talk about. This will be all over the place because when in doubt, I am all over the place. That is just my personality. There will be things that will not be mentioned because I tend to, when there is a lot of things like given to me in one moment and then I start talking about one of the things, the other things temporarily leave my brain. So I might forget to talk. There might be a few things that you might find vital to the plot that I don't mention, or I could think it's not vital to the plot. Like I will talk about things like the characters, the events, the all of that, if you get what I'm saying. So yeah, so let's start this. Just lift the dust jacket off because I will not read books with the dust jackets on. So this is a, I don't even know how many page book. Ooh, pretty pink pen papers. This is a 374 page book. This will probably take me 3 to 4 days to read depending on how fast paced it is and just how much I read. It is currently 7:13 on Wednesday, March 24th. So this book was just released yesterday at the time I'm filming this, even though this probably isn't going up until 2 weeks after this book is released. Also, compared to the last book I read, this is tiny because the last book I read was Chain of Iron. So this is tiny in comparison, just it's not heavy. But I am so excited for this. I absolutely loved Aiden Thomas's debut novel, Cemetery Boys, and I hope I love this book just as much, if not more. I have never read a Peter Pan retelling. To my knowledge, I don't think so, but let's just get started, I guess. And this is me from the future saying that there will be a review in the iCard, I think it's on this side, and in the description. I debated doing these as one video or 2 separate videos, but just all my thoughts, I feel like might as well make an entirely separate review for the book, just in case somebody doesn't want to watch a long reading vlog and a review at once, and they just want a review, or they just want a reading vlog. Okay, so let's just say this has been a very interesting first chapter. So, where do I even begin? The beginning, I guess. So, essentially we know that there has been kids going missing in this town in Oregon. Wendy's brothers, Michael and John, being 2 from the beginning, and then now there has been recently, in the last 24 hours, 2 kids have gone missing. And Wendy, over the last while, has been mysteriously drawing these portraits of a boy who she's kind of placing to be Peter Pan because her mother has told her the stories and she's created her own, because obviously the tale of Peter Pan and Neverland exist in this book, obviously. So that's kind of the basics. And then Wendy is driving home, it's her 18th birthday, and then all of a sudden just something drops on her windshield of her truck, and it is the boy from the drawings, aka Peter Pan, and he knows her name. So we're at that point and I'm already just okay, that was a great first chapter, the way we end off with what I just mentioned, and now I'm just okay, like, obviously Peter knows Wendy's name. How? My guess, I guess, is that when she and her brothers went into the woods, because they got lost in the woods, lost in the Neverwoods, that's kind of where that comes from, I think, my brain's going, is that maybe she met Peter, but then forgot when she left the woods. And the tale of, like, Neverland is kind of true. But, like, I don't know. I don't know. But, yeah, so, like, let's continue reading. So the only thing that has happened in chapter 2 was kind of confirm the suspicion. She doesn't remember what happened in the woods, obviously, but, like, that's kind of in the description. But other than that, nothing has really happened. So I'm just gonna continue. I'm very curious, I guess is all I'm saying. So, like, I'm gonna continue read another, like, couple chapters, and then call it a night for the book. Okay, so we're now going on to chapter 6, and not much has happened. Like, there's obviously been some things that have happened, but, like one thing that's confirmed is that, like, Wendy doesn't remember what happened. Apparently she was missing for 6 months before returning, and that like, when she returned, I can't remember exactly how it was worded, but it was like her clothes were mended with things that weren't from the environment that they're from. They're from a tropical environment. And when, because obviously at the end of chapter 1, when, like, Peter essentially, like, fell from the sky, I'm calling it, he ended up taken to the hospital, and ended up escaping, disappearing. And it was found that the same type of, like, thing on her clothes when she was found on Peter. So obviously, like, things are kind of starting to progress, I guess. So it's kind of like confirmed that essentially, like, she went to Neverland, came back, and lost her memories of Neverland, and now Peter's coming back to find her again or something. I don't know. Other than that, not much has happened. Like, there's been little things, but nothing huge to the plot, I guess. So I'm going on to chapter 8, page 92, and I'm calling it a night for reading this. I am enjoying it so much so far. Like, literally, I'm enjoying it so much. Oh god, like, what do I say about what's happened in the last few chapters? Wendy ended up in the woods with Peter, and it is revealed that, like, yeah, Peter is Peter Pan, like, obviously, and that she went somewhere with him and her brothers, and she was the only one that returned. She doesn't remember anything. That when she was younger, that, like, how the kind of, like, story of Peter Pan goes is, like, Peter loses his shadow. That happened when she was younger. She sewed the shadow back on, and then assuming went to Neverland with him, and then, like, she somehow returned home, and now Peter's shadow is missing again. So I'm assuming, like, obviously Wendy is going to help him find his shadow, and that's going to maybe lead us back to Neverland again, where she's going to find her brothers. Maybe? That's, like, all I can guess. Like, I mean, like, with a retelling, a lot of the times you can kind of guess, like, oh, well, it's going to mimic some aspects from the story, like, boom, there are the aspects from the story. One thing about Wendy's home life that I guess is worth the mention is that her dad isn't the nicest person. For example, when she returns from going into the woods with Peter, she gets yelled at for going into the woods, which, like, obviously she went missing there. She went missing in there the first time over 5 years ago. Obviously that makes sense, but there was other little incidents where you could tell that her father isn't the nicest person, at least directly to Wendy, and I don't know really, like, why. I'm assuming, like, because of what happened, but yeah. It's, like, after 8 o'clock, and I'm calling it a night. Like, I need a shower, and, like, all of that, and, like, I probably won't pick this book up until, like, tomorrow night, because, like, I usually only read at night, but, like, I might pick it up in the morning. If not, I'll see you tomorrow night with continuing this amazing story. Okay, so it's now 7:13 on the 25th. Didn't I start this reading, like, me reading at this time yesterday? Or am I just... I don't know, randomly I said, like, 7:13, and I'm like, is that deja vu? Is that just, like, I don't know. But I'm going to start on to chapter... Let me find out what chapter I'm on, because I've forgotten. Chapter 8? Yes, chapter 8. I remembered that. But I'm going to probably read until, like, 8 o'clock maybe, so, like, 8, shortly after 8, like, I don't know. Just depends probably on where I'm at in the book when that time comes around. Like, if I'm at a really good part, I might read a couple extra chapters. But yeah. So in chapter 8, Wendy had, I guess, the realization of a memory, which was a memory obviously from, like, Neverland, and now obviously, like, she knows, like, Peter can help her find Michael and John, so that's what's happening. That was a very short chapter. It was only, like, 5-6 pages, so I've now read chapter 9 and chapter 10, and everything's kind of starting to progress a bit, I guess. So Wendy went to volunteer at the hospital like she normally does, and, like, what Wendy does is she, like, hangs around with the kids in, like, one of the rooms where, like, there's a bunch of kids, tell stories and all that, and Peter shows up, and so then that gets Wendy and Peter talking, and kind of, like, confirms that, like, Peter's shadow has gone missing, and it went missing after Peter's shadow went missing after Wendy returned to, like, her normal life, but when Wendy and her brothers went to Neverland, that's when everything kind of started to go a bit awry, I guess, and now, so Peter's shadow is kidnapping kids, and keeping them in the woods, like in the woods that Wendy and her brothers got lost in, and yeah, that's kind of where we're at going into chapter 11. I'm still really enjoying this. Like, I'm enjoying it, honestly, like, not more than I thought, because I knew I was going to enjoy this, but I guess enjoy it more than I thought, if that makes any sense whatsoever. Probably doesn't, but I am going to continue reading because it's only 7:41, so read for about 20-ish minutes, I guess. So now going into chapter 12, I'm going to read chapter 12 and then call it a night, but from chapter 11, not much happened. I mean, like, when in doubt, whenever I say, like, not much happened, means stuff happened, but it's not like, oh my god, needs to be talked about right this second. So, in chapter 12, it's kind of, like, not revealed, but I guess, like, brought to our attention that it seems that Peter is aging at a very rapid case that it's like he already seems to be like look older than he did only a few days ago when Wendy first met him, and like because him aging is linked to his magic, which he's losing, and as Peter loses magic, his shadow gets stronger, I guess. So essentially we have to try to stop Peter's shadow before Peter entirely loses his magic and dies, maybe? I could be reaching there, but like that seems that it could make sense. I feel like there's something that I'm missing, but I'm not 100% sure. But I feel like if it was something really important, I'd remember. It was probably something minor that I wanted to say that just kind of slipped from my mind as I was reading. So it's now 8:05. I'm going on to chapter 13, and I'm calling it a night with this book. Where we left off, Wendy was just getting kind of questioned by the police because, like, obviously she's the one that, like, found Peter on the side of the road. They're questioning her about that and how they think that, like, he also went missing with the kids type thing, when in reality we know it's his shadow taking the kids. But like other than that, that's it pretty much. The next chapter is a long chapter. I believe it's like over 20 pages, so I'm calling it a night. I'm on page 183, so I read I was on 92, so I read like 91 pages, which like that's a decent amount for like less than an hour of reading. But I will be picking this up again tomorrow night. Not sure what time, because I'm not sure what time I work till tomorrow evening. It either could be 6 or 7, and then I have a video to edit, so that I probably won't pick this up till like 8 to 8:39 tomorrow night. Who knows? I'm not sure. But I am, like, I've said this before, I'm enjoying this book so much, but like when I say I'm enjoying it, I mean like I am enjoying it so much. Like, I don't want to jinx this beforehand, but like at the point I'm at now, it's like a 4.5 stars, but could become a 5-star read. Like, I'm not sure. Like, I definitely see this being either, I don't know why I'm holding up the book, like I'm literally just holding up the bare book, but this is either going to be a 4, a 4.5, or a 5-star read for sure. If it ends up being anything lower than that, I will cry, because like it's amazing so far. So it is now 7:14 on the 26th. I ended up not working like tonight, like this afternoon / this evening, so I was able to get some things done, and now I'm going to read more. Where even is the book? I lost where I put the book for a second. But I'm going to continue reading. I could get this done tonight. I might get it done tonight. I'm like 48% in, according to Goodreads. I might try to get this finished tonight, but then I also really want to try to finish writing the chapter of my book that I'm writing, and that might take me a while, and then so like I'm not sure, but like if not tonight, this is for sure being finished tomorrow. I am probably gonna read till like 8:30 maybe, so like a little over an hour, but I'm not sure. So in chapter 13 we kind of have, I guess, a little theory going. So Wendy's been drawing this tree over the last, I think it's like she's over the last few days, few weeks, that she starts drawing and like doesn't realize she's drawing until she's finished, and it's the same tree over and over again. So she believes that the tree is like a tree in the forest that will lead to like the shadow and possibly the missing kids along with her brothers. So the chapter 14 is titled Into the Woods, so I'm assuming we're going to go into the woods. And I'm like just a little bit like, I guess nervous would be the term, because like we're going into the woods. The woods haven't been the best places, like the best place so far. So yeah. So in chapter 14, Peter and Wendy went into the woods to try to see if they could find something. They couldn't, but they ended up finding this like waterfall that led down into like, I guess, a little pond type thing, and they ended up like just having fun in the water, like jumping off like the edge of like the cliff and jumping in and like all that, and it was like really, really cute and just like fun, I guess, like something that I'd love to just find an open, like a random body of water and just jump in and just say, let's have fun. And then Wendy and her best friend Jordan got into a fight because like Wendy's not telling Jordan what's actually going on, but obviously like Wendy can't. Jordan won't believe her. That's kind of where we're at like as of now. I'm now going on to chapter 17, and things are kind of really starting to progress. So Peter and Wendy went back into the forest and they were able to find the tree that they were looking for, but they also stumbled upon Peter's shadow, which was interesting. The shadow did get away, but it kind of essentially like told Wendy like, yeah, you're never gonna see your brothers again, and that caused her to like get really upset. I mean, like, imagine that. Like, everything is just really starting to get intense. There's also now like police starting to search the forest because 2 other kids have gone missing, so we're at a total of like 5 kids or something. 5-6 kids, I think, which is definitely a lot of kids going missing. But let's continue. So we're going on to chapter 20, and in the last, I believe it's been 2 chapters, Peter stayed with Wendy overnight because the woods is no longer a safe place for him to stay. Then the next day, Wendy finds the key to her old room that she shared with her brothers that has been locked away, like that has been locked up since they all went missing. And then so Wendy and Peter go into the room, and then they're talking on like the window seat that there is in there, and then like essentially Peter admits that like he purposely like broke Neverland's rules, which was like only bring lost kids, because he brought Wendy and her brothers to Neverland, which is something that shouldn't be done because they weren't lost children, and how Wendy was almost a teenager when she arrived, that broke the rules. And the reason why Peter broke the rules is because he didn't want to lose Wendy, and admits that he still doesn't want to lose her. And then they kiss, and then I'm just gonna read you the last like 2 paragraphs of chapter 19, because like I screamed for 2 different reasons. But there was a moment of lips pressed to lips, the taste of honeysuckle, and the unbearable lightness that made her feel like she was to float away if she didn't hold on to him. But then the window burst open, an exploding backdraft of darkness that tore them apart and threw Wendy to the ground. So I'm assuming that's Peter's shadow. And like, I am 100% finishing this book tonight, because like I need to know how it ends before I sleep tonight. Like, I need to know how this ends, and like that's like the way my brain is feeling right now. So been revealed. It's only been a couple of pages, but so apparently I'm still trying to mentally process this, but apparently Neverland is a place where the souls of dead children go. Yeah, so it's like, this is kind of what the shadow explains, is, Peter guides the souls of the dead children to the afterlife when they've died in a particularly horrible way. He takes them to Neverland. It's sort of a limbo, really, where dead kids go and come to terms with what happened to them, and then they can cross over. And which is exactly what he did with Wendy's brothers. When he saw you next to their bodies, begging him to let you go with your brothers, he caved in. But living girls don't belong in Neverland. So like, essentially that's why Peter started to lose his magic, was because he brought a living person to Neverland that is meant for dead children's souls. Plot twist, anybody? I was literally like, I don't know what to think. That is like a big plot twist, and it's like, oh yeah, plot twist. All the children in Neverland are dead, and essentially, I'm laughing because I'm something I just thought of. Essentially, Peter is kind of almost like I guess you'd call it almost like the Grim Reaper of children, because he takes them to Neverland so that they can cross over, and that's kind of what the Grim Reaper does. I don't know why I find that so funny. But like, let's see what else in this chapter can make me need to make a clip about it. So, pretty much like right after the last clip, I read a few more pages, and we now know how Michael and John died. Wendy, Michael, John, and their dog were out in the woods, and somebody was shooting and shot both of them, and we find out that it was actually their neighbor that shot them. And earlier in the book, the neighbor's kids were some of the kids that went missing. Payback's a bitch, huh? And obviously Wendy was there to witness it, so she witnessed her younger brothers getting killed, and then that's when Peter showed up and she kind of begged for him to help. That's kind of where I'm at right now. And I might have almost cried. I was about 2 seconds away from starting to cry. Like, damn. This just got dark really quickly. And the end of the chapter is just Wendy thinking like she's the one that caused this, she's the one that had her and her brothers out in the woods that day, and that she needs to get justice for the kids that like went missing, and the status of if they're alive or dead is unknown. And chapter 21 is titled Lost in the Neverwoods, which is obviously the title of the book, so this could get interesting. And I think there's only 2 more chapters left, so I think I'm gonna just read the final 2 chapters and then talk about it. Yeah, that sounds like a plan.
I just finished the book and I'm just like, I almost feel like I'm about to cry just because of like everything. What the fuck even happened? Oh my gosh, my brain is trying to process everything. But like essentially, Peter's shadow ended up taking Peter. Wendy ended up running through the woods trying to find like the shadow and Peter and then the kids, and she did. And essentially the way that she like defeated the shadow was kind of just like, I'm not really even sure how, but I think it was because like, do not quote me on this is still a little blurry, but she kind of like went against the shadow and was like, I'm not scared of you. And essentially, I have a feeling that, like, one of the morals of the stories, I guess, is, like, don't be afraid of your fears. Because, like, the shadow is meant to represent all of the fears. It feeds on fear and being scared and all of that. But Wendy, I think, essentially defeats it by not being scared of the shadow and not being scared of the situation. And then the shadow gets like sewn back onto Peter, and he leaves as there's the like search party in the woods finds them, and Wendy tells the detectives like, I remember my brothers are dead, here's where they are, and their bodies are found, and the neighbor, that Mr. Davis that killed them, ended up getting arrested. I was like, what's the word? And then after everything happens, I think it's either later in the day or the next day, Peter shows up back at Wendy's place, and they have like a final goodbye, because obviously he needs to go back to Neverland to like to help essentially like almost like ferry the dead kids off to their final resting place. But that's pretty much what happened. And then the epilogue was just Wendy off at university with her best friend Jordan, and that's the story, I guess. Like, I had to hug the book after I finished it. Like, I literally was just like, I don't know, like, just 5 stars, 5 stars, 5 stars, 5 stars, 5 stars. That is my rating, 5 stars. You have to fight me for it to be anything else. It is just, this book is so, like, whimsical and magical, and just, but also dealing with heavy topics, and just, it's all wound up so well. And I'm saying this, that like Aiden Thomas is definitely now on like list of favorite authors, list of auto-buy authors. Like, I loved this book more than I thought. Like, I'm going to do an entirely separate review for this. Yeah, like, I don't know if I have any other thoughts. Like, all of my thoughts and all of that, like all of my final thoughts will be in, like, linked in the iCard or in the description. I said this earlier, but I am just, I guess, in awe with this book. But again, I will do all my final thoughts in that review, which will be linked in the description and the iCard. But I hope you enjoyed this very rambly, very all over the place, very wild video. I know I sure enjoyed doing this reading vlog. I've done 2 reading vlogs this week as I'm filming this, and like I'm realizing how much I like doing reading vlogs. So like stick around if you want to see more of these crazy hectic reading vlogs, and I guess this is the end of the video, so bye!